Deyan was able to generate an automation that basically goes over all of the saved posts on Instagram. Then he's able to get into each post, scrape data from each post, and once you get that data scraped, then he's able to see the image previews and also scrape the hashtags. So this is like really powerful use case. And if you're able to create some nice lists of saved posts and you're able to extract the data from those saved posts, I think the possibilities are endless. Like you can analyze hashtags that you should use for your business. You can generate descriptions based on example posts and so many other things. Or you can just have it as a kind of competitor research strategy. Really cool automation, Deyan. Thank you for sharing. Welcome everyone to the first Bardeen Workout. We will be deep diving into advanced automation and scraping practices. Nice to see some Bardeen team members joining us too. Matthias, Kunal. This is the first Bardeen Workout we ever host. And it's kind of an attempt to create smaller spaces with our top users, with our closest members, to start practicing, to start getting that workout for automations, because it's very often that we don't set time to automate our work. So in this session, we're going to be talking about advanced automation and scraping practices. We're going to be talking with Deyan Petrov. Deyan, he's a Bardeen ambassador. He's our top contributor and pro user in the community. He's an automation expert, and he is honestly, I think, the member that has most helped users in Bardeen inside our community. He has helped like hundreds of users, and I'm constantly surprised with the use cases he builds. So I'm really happy to have him join here, and he's going to be explaining some of the automations. He's going to be going around some pro tips and tricks from helping hundreds of users automate their workflows. He's going to be showing some live demonstrations, and we're going to have some space at the end for QA solving. So you can also start thinking about your questions so we can get those sorted. I want to introduce this new concept of Bardeen Workouts. So the concept of Bardeen Workouts is that automating takes time, and we barely scratch the surface of this, and we struggle to prioritize it. We know it's important to automate, and we know how much time we can be saving if we set time for it, but we rarely have the spaces to do so. So this is kind of our attempt to create more recurrent spaces where we can have open-minded automation experts and automation users who want to start implementing and learning about automation. So it's like going to the gym. You should not skip leg day, as well as you should not skip automations day. So let's get started. And before that, I want to show a small announcement, is that Bardeen is moving its community. We're upgrading into Discourse server. So you will be able to join in community.bardeen.ai. This is a big step for us as we are trying to scale our community to help more people, to also generate more value and have the information publicly for everyone on the internet. This has a lot of advantages for our community, like a centralized location where all discussions will be happening in the same place. Your ideas, the bugs, the events, the content, you'll be able to access resources, get support from there, search among docs and knowledge bases. We will have trusted moderators like Deyan, who is one of our ambassadors, who will be able to also ensure the safety and the quality of the community. And there's a lot of new features that we're exploring too, on like badges, rewards. And the cool thing is that this is all hosted on the web at community.bardeen.ai. You can access it from your mobile and your computer, and you can also set up your own customizations for the platform on how you want to visualize it and how you want to consume the content and the notifications that you want to receive from it. This is a big step for us. You can read more about why we're doing this and our process migrating our community at this blog post. You can search it, We're Upgrading Our Community, and you will get more context. So how to get started? Let me show you some. To get started, simply head on to community.bardeen.ai, and from there you can log in on the top. And the cool thing is you don't have to worry about any other logins or new platforms, you can simply log in with your Bardeen account. You can simply pick whatever login you have for your Bardeen account, and that's it. You'll be redirected into the community. Once you get there, the first thing you should do is start on this forum topic that will walk you through our different categories and the first steps you should take inside the community. So this is your quick category guide. Then there's some first steps that you can take to get familiar with the platform, with what you need to know. What are categories? What are tags? How do I create a post? You should check the rules for a community. You should customize your profile setting. Then head on to introduce yourself and create your first topic by introducing yourself. For instance, hey, I'm Ivan from Colombia. And you drop a quick bio, maybe inspired on your LinkedIn, and what you're trying to do inside the community. What are the things that you'd like to achieve with Bardeen? Maybe you can even use Bardeen to scrape your LinkedIn profile and create that intro for you. Anyway, we'll be there to welcome you. Inside the community, you'll find a diverse range of categories that are tailored for specific needs. You can find them here at all categories, from showcasing your Bardeen automations and showing them off and sharing your stories, to reporting your bugs and getting upvotes so they can be fixed more quickly. You can also check existing knowledge and FAQs and documentation on how to use Bardeen. You can also share your ideas and upvote the ideas of others. Finding Bardeen automation experts on specific use cases like digital marketing, AI, or Notion from our Bardeen Ambassador program, as well as checking our latest announcements on Bardeen and staying on the radar of our newest releases. So whatever you're looking for, we've got you covered. Now, let's get started. I'm excited to introduce Deyan into the event. And Deyan, do you want to share a bit about your experience on Bardeen? How long have you been a user, just before you get started with your topics?
Hello, everybody. First of all, thank you for joining us. I also wanted to thank Bardeen's community. You guys have been very supportive and helping me explore your amazing tool. I've been using Bardeen for about 2 months now. I think compared to other tools that I've used, I've fallen in love with how user-friendly it is. Just in general, everything seems to flow easy. It has one of the best scraper templates. Scraper templates is so easy. Anybody can do it, and it is just a few clicks. It is done. You don't have to know any selectors. You don't have to know, no codes, no nothing, which is, I think, is one of the amazing selling points, at least for myself, for Bardeen. So one of the topics that we're gonna go through is scraping URLs in chunks. As you well know, Bardeen does everything in big chunks, and sometimes there is an error. Your laptop runs out of battery. You get disconnected from the internet, and we don't want the user to lose this data. So I found a way that we can do that in small chunks, either 10, 50 scrapes. Then we're gonna go through everybody's favorite, updating Google Sheets. Everybody seems to be struggling with this. I see at least one question on that topic per day. Then we'll go and just see how we can generate video ideas from using YouTube Transcript. We'll be using OpenAI. We're using background scrapers there as well. After that, we'll show you how to create custom selectors. So if for some reason Bardeen is unable to select a field that you need, we'll see how we can get that with the custom selector. And then I'll show you another error handling technique that I figured out, which would allow the user to go through a bunch of links without getting an error, because we've checked the URLs and made sure that they are fully working. I would like first to show you how this is set up and what are we trying to achieve, okay? So if we have a list of links that we want to scrape, in this case, we've scraped some information, but we would like to enrich that with some additional information. The usual steps would be to just go and get the table, scrape them, and then update the rows. But sometimes if we have 1,000 links, if we have 2,000 links, this is mainly aimed at big data sets. Even if you have 100, you can still use this technique. And what we do is we take our links and we just filter them somewhere else, which is going to be in our filtered sheet. And we are using a query. Now, I'm not going to dive too deep into what this is. If you guys want me to explain something regarding the query, just leave a question. Other than that, I'll just show you what it actually does. And I'll just split my screens here so you can see.
Okay, so the idea here is you want to scrape this list of links in the background and get data from each of them, right?
Yes.
What data is there at visionaries.gang, just to get a bit more context on this use?
So this is a use case that I worked with Darshan to do that for him. So he was looking to just scrape the about section.
But this seems to be like members of a community called Visionaries, right?
Yes. So I'm not exactly sure because Darshan just provided me the information. I think it's exactly as you said. Let's just go to the main site. It's a visionary community. I've not explored it that much, just the site itself. If you guys want, I can obviously share the link as well if anybody's interested in this, and you can go and check Gong.io.
Awesome. Yeah, but essentially the example here is that, let's say you have a list of members,
right?
That you want to scrape data from each one of these pages, and Deyan is going to show us how to get data from all of these URLs in the background and scrape it with Bardeen.
And what is different than the usual approach is that we're going to be using a trigger, and we're going to be watching for some changes in this filtered sheet instead of getting the main sheet. And the idea is here that we want to get this table and then slice it down to the number of URLs that we want. In my case, I just want to show you with just 2 URLs. So we're going to get the whole table, get only 2 of the URLs, scrape them. And let's say that we actually got the information here, and we're going to paste that, and you're going to see that they disappeared. And now we only have the one that we haven't scraped, right? So this means that tomorrow you can go and get some more links. And when you scrape, you're never going to rescrape data, right? So this means we are always scraping the fresh links that we put in, which is another great use case. Now I'll just dive into the book itself so you can see what it actually does. So here is the book. So we're using the when row is added or changed in Google Sheet, and we're using this just as a trigger. And the reason is it seems that this is returning each row as a separate table, which is not ideal for us. So what we do is when we detect a change, we go and grab the whole table. So we select our filter tab. After that, we get that table and we just slice from the first until the third. So that means we're going to get 2 links in this case. So the first and the second link. If you would like to get 10 links, you would just put 11. So this will get between the first and the 11th. Let's keep that at 3 for now.
Okay, so your trick on the way that you scrape these URLs is that you use this action, get slice of array, to select how many of those URLs you want to scrape in the background, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the hack here is that you can start with getting 2, then other 2, and that way if you scrape by chunks and you get data from each URL in the background, because each scraping action is going to take a lot of data and it's going to take time. So if you do it on chunks, you might also have more control. So this is I think the trick, right?
Right, this is the trick. It helps you if you encounter a URL that doesn't work. This means that you are not losing the data. This means that you already have, one of these 2 links is faulty, so you can just go and see which one it is, what is going on, maybe delete it or get the correct link. And if that's the case, then you didn't scrape 500 URLs and then lost all the data.
Of course. And that's also a way to be more mindful about in case you're paying Bardeen Pro, this is a way that you can also test in small amounts before running an entire automation over all of your URLs and not being sure if it'll work or not. So I think this is a cool hack. Maybe can we see it on action, and then we can see. Do you want
me to put it on and then we can finish? Okay, so I'm gonna split the screen so you can see when it activates as well, and I'm just gonna start it here. Right. Let me do this. I'm gonna activate scraping chunks. And I have some extra data here that I can just copy a couple of rows. So the idea is that now we have only 3 rows and we need to add some more rows. So we trigger the action and we're just gonna go in our main sheet and just gonna add extra row. Now, hopefully this should trigger. From my experience, the trigger works every minute. So I'm guessing it creates a snapshot of what happened last time. And then in 1 minute, it's going to check, see if there is any changes. If there is any changes, it's going to run.
So essentially, you're adding a new row to scraping chunks. And this Autobug will trigger that you got this new row, and it'll get that row and scrape it in the background.
Yes, right? that is absolutely correct. And again, you can have this book ready. You turn it on. There we go. That's the first scrape.
And the information is going to be saved on this other Google Sheet, right?
It's going to be in this tab. Right, I don't think I have any repeating links. I didn't check. I've just added them. There you go. You've seen these two rows out here. If we have a look, they disappeared from here. And now this is going to trigger another change, right? Because it's looking, I had 4 links before. In 1 minute, when it checks, it has 2 links. And then it's going to trigger, and there is going to be no links at the end. And it knows it's finished. And there it goes. It just activates again.
Okay,
and
so this is activating the auto book, and it's scraping data in the background.
Yeah, so we pretty much turned it on once. We added 1 link, and it scraped 2 links, and then scraped the other 2 links. And now when it checks, it shouldn't see any links, so it shouldn't be triggering, right? And now we have all of the data. And next time we add a couple more rows, or a client gives us a bunch of links, we want these scraped, we just add them here, and it starts scraping automatically whenever there is links.
Nice. I have one question though. Would I have to edit the automation every time, like to change the index, or will this happen automatically?
What do you mean by the index?
You shared inside the automation that you have to change the index.
No,
so
you don't have to
happen automatically.
You don't have to change the index. I've just said that here you can change the index to get the number of rows per scrape that you want, right? So if you want to scrape 2 links per every time, you just leave it as it is. If you want to scrape 10 links at a time, then you can put it at 11. If you have 1,000 links and you want to do it in 100 links chunks, then you put it at 101. And now if you have 1,000, the first time it's going to get 100. Then the next time it's going to get another 100. And then you can control how many of these chunks you get, how big they are.
Okay, and this will get the last items that were added into the spreadsheet?
Yes. So
okay,
I think if you want me, I can just discard this change. And this should be still on, right? Nothing's happened yet. And I'll come here and just grab a couple, like 3 more rows maybe.
I really like this hack. So it can be very useful for users to also contest this automation. What other use cases have you seen, or like benefits from using this tactic, Deyan?
I think in general, I've noticed this is good if, for pretty much the reason of, you have LinkedIn profiles, you have Instagram, and sometimes the URL doesn't exist. Maybe somebody gave you these links. And I think it's just time saving in that sense that if you scrape something for 5 hours and it fails because of 1 link, it's just not good for anybody. You lost time, maybe you have a deadline. So I think that allows you to, you come back and it's failed, and you just go and see it stopped right here. So why didn't this get scraped? You check it, you delete it, and you can restart it. And it works again instead of losing valuable client time. And the other thing I would like to have a look at with you guys is how update rows works. And
awesome. So now we're going to change topics a bit, right? And we're going to go into how to update rows. Do you want to give some context on what is this? Okay,
so this is everybody's favorite action, update rows. So this is the action. And on the surface, it's pretty simple. It kind of works like add rows. So you have your sheet, you have your tab where to add the stuff, and then you say what you want to add. But it's just these 2 pieces here that people usually get wrong, right? And I have this kind of diagram I hope helps you guys visualize what is going on and understand why are we selecting, what are we selecting. So in here, usually when you come in, when you select your sheet and tab, you're going to have your presets on the bottom. So it already knows your columns. So you just need to select the column that you want to look into, right? And in our case, this is going to be the links that are going to be in the main sheet. Okay, so this is our search by column. Imagine that this is the same table, and then we have what are we finding, which are the values that we're going to search in this column to be able to match our data. And in our case, we are not going to use the whole table that we grab. We just want to get the 2 links because we are scraping 2 links and we have 2 data points. And here is where I want to mention, some of the errors that people get is when the find roles. So how many links or how many IDs or, the values that the action accepts here in find rows by value. mismatches the actual values, right? And I have here this kind of action. So let's imagine that we get a table and then we scrape two links and we have about person A and about person B, right? And the values to update the scraper would be these two.
So you search by rows and then what happens?
So we search rows by the column. And I just wanted to show you here to help you visualize what is going on, because I think that's, at least for me, was hard to understand in the beginning. If we get our table and it has two values, imagine it's these two, what Bardeen does is goes and says, is this the value? Oh, this is the value. So I'm going to say, row 2, put my information here. So about person 1 would go here. And then the second value, which is find rows by value here. So we're passing it's called an array of values, right? And it goes, Bardeen says, is it here? Okay, it's not here. Is it here? It's not here. Is it here? And then when it gets to the correct spot, it says, okay, this is my spot. I'm going to say this is row 9. Please give me the data and put it in here. And that's how the actual action works. I hope this helps you visualize what it does, so it helps you understand it better and make the decision what to select in these two fields.
Awesome. So maybe we can see the walkthrough of this automation on how did it update the rows, so we can see like the result of this action.
Let me just make this a little bit bigger because this information is quite small. Right. Okay, so it's still invisible because this is the information that we're getting. The user didn't mind that, but in your case, this can be all individual pieces of information that you can get, like the name, the user, the education, if you're scraping LinkedIn, for example. And as you can see, it just comes in and updates. And in our case now, if we decide to go and get some more links, we go and scrape Gong in this case, or you scrape LinkedIn. Let's say that we got some more new profiles. Let me just make sure I didn't turn it off. Okay, still on. And then you scrape some new profiles. They come in here. This is your sheet where you add them. And then in a minute, it should check here and see that there was some rows added, something was changed, and it should start scraping again. I can open this so we can see when this happens. There we go. So we just added them and it just started scraping automatically.
So this will either update the existing rows that were already there with updated information, or it will add new rows if they weren't there already, right?
So this would update them, right? So if you add extra rows, and then it would start updating them automatically.
Awesome.
Okay, if there's no more questions, I think maybe we can move to the next example if everybody's happy with that.
Yeah, let's check it out. I think you're gonna walk us through ideas on YouTube. So let me just share the story here. So like a couple of weeks ago, Deyan shared on the Slack community a use case that kind of blew our minds, and we shared it on social too, on how he was able to get the transcript from YouTube videos. You know how YouTube videos, they have this transcript that is generated automatically. And if you're able to scrape that transcript, then the possibilities to use that information with AI to generate ideas, to maybe create posts are endless. So he was able to hack this process and be able to build a scraper to get the transcripts from YouTube videos. Maybe you can show us a bit about these automations.
So my first attempt was when Bardeen didn't have the scraper itself, which I was hoping I can find there. So I went the very Google search way, and then I found this website which is called YouTube Transcript. Initially, I was just getting the HTML and going through everything, but then I found this transcript site that I can just go and let's take one of Bardeen's videos, and we go here and we just put the URL and we have the video and there is a transcript, right? And all we have to do is get this information and we can do whatever we want with it. So we can ask AI, give us some ideas, like what are they talking about? We can ask it to summarize, and maybe you want to watch this video but you're not sure if it's for you. So we can change the prompt from actually getting ideas to just getting summarized in 5 bullet points. And the initial way that I achieved that, and I'm not going to bore you with regular expressions, but it was when you look at the YouTube transcript, it has this question mark V equals, and this is the ID of the video. And if you have a look here, it's the same right here. And what I did was I would extract the videos. So I would go and grab, I want 10 videos. For each video, I would go and extract just this ID with a regular expression. And then I would merge that with the base URL of the transcript. And then I would go and get the transcript with the get pages HTML. Then again, with the regular expression, I would get the actual transcript, create the prompt here. So based on this transcript, give me some video ideas. Obviously you can change this to anything you want. And then I just sent the prompt to OpenAI. Now I'm not saving it anywhere because I don't need to, but if you guys, you want to save it to Google Sheets, you can do that. You can do Airtables, Notion. Bardeen has so many integrations that the possibilities are endless, right?
Awesome. Can we see this example in action?
Yeah. So this one, it would actually, you would go to the channel. You would go to the channel and you wanna, let's say you want to get 3 of the videos. Now we're gonna send 3 different prompts and get 3 different responses for the reason that we don't know how big these transcripts are, and we don't want our call to OpenAI to fail, because otherwise we will just waste our time.
Okay, so to understand, so this is getting the 3 initial videos from Bardeen. Then it's gonna get their transcripts, right? And from there, it's gonna use AI to generate video ideas. So, like this is a big use case for marketing. In case you, for instance, you're brainstorming ideas and you want to take references on like successful YouTube channels, you can run this automation and basically generate ideas based on those videos. So that's kind of a use case for marketing, and you can customize the AI in your own way from Bardeen.
Right, and let's think about this, different way. Maybe you want to scrape these links, all of them, and then you want to use the previous use case that we showed, and you can scrape 100 YouTube videos and then run them 2 by 2, make sure that OpenAI doesn't get overwhelmed for some reason or something doesn't happen. So you can just scrape that and just combine both of them in one, and you get the YouTube links of the videos, and then Bardeen does the rest for you, right? So 2 by 2 it goes, gets the transcript, gets the prompt to OpenAI, you get your response, you save it, you update it in Google Sheets, and then the process starts over again, and you come back after your lunch break, and then you have all these data that you can work with. And I'll try to make this a little bit bigger.
Zoom in? Yeah, thanks. These were the results, like the ideas that it generated from each video.
So that are the 3 ideas that the 3 responses that it generated. Now I haven't played that much with the prompt itself. Somebody that knows videos and transcripts probably could do this better, but let's see how to use ChatGPT to respond to leads and customers on Facebook and Instagram, right? So we can create a whole new video on just that, and you have 15 of these. You go through it and maybe you size what your audience would like, and then in one click we actually have 28 ideas, and 28 video ideas would take you quite a long time, right? And you just generated them with just a single click.
That's impressive. We gotta share this with Rinat, who is leading the YouTube channel. Maybe he can get some value out of this. And I want to add something, is that this is the output that you get like from OpenAI, and you can either copy it into your system and generate it from there, but you can also modify the automation and save the results, like the ideas, into a spreadsheet, into your Notion database. So that way you're not only generating ideas, but you're also generating a system for turning those ideas in progress and then into reality, right? I want to reference like the example that you gave. It is possible if you go just search like YouTube transcript for a video. I think the special thing here is not only you scrape the transcript, but it's not only about getting that data, it's about in one click being able to generate very fast ideas from that transcript. So you can just input your video and generate ideas, and this will take care of everything in the background. And the same you can do for the other use cases shared in the chat of summarizing YouTube videos. So if you're able to scrape the transcript and then process it with OpenAI, whatever video that you're watching on YouTube, you can summarize it in a few seconds.
So this is how this automation evolved to a different one. So Bardeen now has a YouTube transcript scraper, right? So you just go in here and let's do this YouTube, right? Transcript by Bardeen, yours truly, and then you can scrape the video. You don't even know how to you don't even have to know how to use the scraper, because Bardeen provides so many different templates that the users just they can just come and say I want to scrape LinkedIn, I want to scrape YouTube transcripts, and everything is there and it's ready. And it's nice and easy to use, as I said in the beginning.
Awesome.
And let's have a look how this.
One year ago, this was not possible. This is a recent feature that we have that allows anyone to find the Bardeen created scrapers just by typing inside the scraper actions. I'm not sure of the number, but we have more than 50, I think 100 scrapers. You just have to search for Bardeen inside the scraper actions, and you will see Google Sheets, Facebook Maps, LinkedIn scrapers, and it's and the cool thing is we actually have this new list that we just created yesterday of scrapers that are available in Bardeen, and you can access it here at bardeen.ai/scraper, and you can see the different scraper templates that we have available. Let me just show this for 1 second. So these are the different data scrapers, and we have this, and we're building many more. In case you're a user of Instagram, Zillow, Twitter, we already have pre-built scrapers that you can use into your automations here. All right, continue, Deyan.
I just want to change the prompt here. I'm just writing it here on the side. If you just guys give me a moment.
Okay, but what do you want to do in this use case?
So I'm gonna show you how you can do that for a single video, right? Because before we go into the whole channel, now we have the Bardeen scraper, and we're gonna say summarize the video transcript in 10 bullet points. All we have to do is put our So we put the prompt in, let's save this. And now imagine that you are on, a video, it seems interesting, but maybe you don't have time to watch it. So you would I didn't change the naming of the action, but we can do that later. So now this does the same. So now we actually activated Bardeen's scraper, and everything's happening in the background. You don't even know. And you can save that to, your reading list. And if we come and open the progress, this has finished, and we didn't get any return. Why is that? So just quickly, I didn't change the prompt, but this is, we remember we weren't getting any output, but I think it just wasn't showing it for some reason. I'm not sure. I can investigate and make a bug report later, but this is basically a summary of the video that Renat has done. This is one of the advanced use cases that we want to deal with the fact that not every website you scrape is actually retrievable. Means it can be a business that used to have a website, but now it's down, and Bardeen would fail. And you get to a certain link and you have 100 links, you want to scrape them, but one of them is not working, so therefore it fails, right?
Yes.
This is an advanced thing that I've done. This is a formula that I've created. When you enter it here, you just pass the URL. So let's say, we have our URL here, and you can see this is some random URL that I put in, right? And it tells you that this is false. That means that this website doesn't work. So if you go to it, there is no such website. But the ones that says true, if I go and click on them, it opens them and there is some information. Now, if there is going to be a email or phone number, you don't know, but you can go and scrape it because it's working. And this is part of the technique that I showed before of filtering the websites that you're going to be scraping. So if I just do a quick split here.
I think Bardeen should have that action.
Which action?
Check if a URL. Let me see if we have it. But
I don't think so. Yeah. There is no. If it has it, that would be amazing. But check.
Yeah.
URL.
Because we have find all links, but it can find links that are not real.
Can you just build that logic into the scraper, into a scrape data in the background action?
Yeah.
Can you build that logic there instead of a new action, right? Yeah.
Let's make a discussion about that on the community, and that's very easy to make. I think that should be built, but there should also be an action itself that checks if a URL exists or if it's real.
Right. But we can just if you add to the get HTML as text get HTML action to the scrapers, you just put the error handling that if something doesn't work, if it returns, if it doesn't return what you want, then just continue, so we don't have to have these workarounds. If it's an error, maybe place this text that you can pick, and you can say this was an error, and then when you go into your sheet, it says this was an error instead of everything falling apart.
Yeah.
What's the scenario where you need to check if a URL is valid? So the thing is, if you're scraping Google Maps, it's likely that the URLs will be valid. So that's the thing. But there's cases where you might be building a list of websites, you might be scraping it. If you have a list of websites that you just scrape from Google Maps maybe, or from certain websites, maybe social, and you want to check if those URLs are valid, then that would be the use case. The thing is, it's not that often. I think it's more often that you want to verify an email, and that we have an action for.
Okay.
So this automation is based on the Kaleka, who wanted to scrape his favorite post, right? He gave the link to the what he wants to scrape, which is great. Usually people would say, I want to scrape something, and you have to figure it, but giving a link helps a lot. And then he says the second step is to get the information of each of the favorite scraped posts, like thumbnail, post image, post description, but he cannot actually scrape just the list, which is this, right? And I'll be completely honest with you. I created it. I was ready to give it to him. And then I realized what the issue was. And I had like 2 or 3 posts saved here. And what the issue is, how the HTML of Instagram is structured, and what Bardeen selects is just the first row. And if you have more than one row of images or links, then you cannot get them because just the selector is not correct. And so if I just start, where should we start? Should I start from, what do you guys think? Should I start from the template so we can see the selectors? Do you just want to see how?
Maybe do the scraper like how you would normally do it, and then how you fixed it.
Okay, so
like create a scraper. Yeah, exactly.
From scratch, right? So
yeah.
This is obviously some of the new Bardeen feature where it's suggesting you that they already have a scraper. So if you didn't see it, if you didn't know how to search, you can see it here and select it if you want. But this is for a different. Actually, I haven't tested this. I'm not sure if this might be working as well. But in our case, we're just going to create a new one. We're going to select the list because that's what we want to build. I'm not going to give it a name for now because we're not going to save that. But usually how you would create the list is click on the first and then the second. As you can see from the border, we selected the whole container, not a single post, right? And I'm going to create, say it's infinite scrolling. And up here, you can press the redefine list. Let's click on the first and then the second post. And now we have the individual posts, but not all of them, right?
Yeah, it's tricky. So that's the thing with Bardeen automatically tries to get the selectors, and that's why it works in most websites. The thing is, some websites have a more tricky HTML structure, either because they made it that way so people do not scrape it, or because it's simply how the page is structured that is harder for Bardeen to automatically detect the container, basically identify the rows that you want to scrape. So in this case, what I answered to the user is like, it's a bit more tricky because you have to use CSS selectors to refine those, like the container. So this is what I think that was how you solved it.
Yes. So I would usually create a new tab, or sorry, just duplicate what I'm working on because I don't want to mess with the scraper template that I'm creating. And how you would get the selectors is you press F12 to get the HTML elements. You can press either Control Shift and C, or just press on this little arrow here and select an element. And you can see there on the right that we get an update on what are we selecting. So from here on out, there is 2 options. This I think I saw from Jess first. I'm not sure where, but I think it was her where I saw it, that you can just copy the selectors. And you can always try that, but usually that's what Bardeen will do. And you can see it's a big mess because it's quite specific selector. So my thought process is I select the elements that I want to get. From there, I just press the left arrow on the keyboard until I select the whole container. Okay, so I know that this selects all the 3 posts, and there is the same one here. Okay, so how can I get from, selecting only these? What is Bardeen doing that is not allowing him to get it? So to select the custom list selector, you would come here, specify custom selector, and I will just copy this and paste it over here so I can view it and maybe edit it, right? Bardeen just has a very small text box here. It's hard to see an overview of what's going on. But if you look at what is happening here, is very simple. We select the first type of article, then the first type of a div. And let's have a look here. We have an article, we have a div. So we basically go article, div, then another div, which is the first of type, and then another div, which is the first of type. But we actually have many of these types. So all we have to do is just, in this case at least, delete this and say that this is not only going to be a first of type, but it's going to be many of them. And now we select all of them.
If you see like first of type or item number X, it'll only get one. And in this step, like what we want to refine is getting the list. We want to get the container, right? Get the container for the list. So this is why, he removed the first item. This is a bit more tricky. Not everyone is familiar with CSS. I am not. I kind of learned on the way. But what you need to learn about CSS in Bardeen is really small. It's not that complex, and you can learn it with like a few minutes. You might even be able to ask ChatGPT, for instance, like, hey, I have this HTML. I need to select the container of this. What is the selector? I've never done that experiment, but it might work. Like if you were to copy like those 5 rows of code where you actually see, and you tell ChatGPT like, help me find the CSS selector to get all the list of posts, that might be another workaround in case you're not technical.
I just want to take a quick second to explain what's also going on here is that so if you have this angled bracket means that the next element is a direct child, right? So this would be right after this. As you can see, there is these angle brackets here. Let me see if I can zoom this, right? So this means that it's a direct child to the previous element. Let's say we have an A class, and if we delete this last div and say A, which stands for anchor tag, then we won't be able to select it or we will select something completely different. But if you remove this angled bracket, that would select the A tag that's somewhere after this divider. So it doesn't have to be a direct child. And then you have dot notation, which is for class. So you can see here all the classes that this A tag has. So if you have multiple A tags and you want to get a specific one, you have to see which are the similar tags and which are the different one, and then just say dot and then paste the class in. If you want to do multiple classes, I think it's dot, and then a space means you're starting a new element selector. In here, I've changed the selector. So I just added the class. For example, if you had many divs there and you had to select a specific one, this would also work. As you can see, we're still selecting everything. Now, there was another issue that had to be solved for the use case of this user is he wants to get yeah.
Oh, okay. But can we see this? So once you manage to get the container, can you go back to Bardeen Scraper? Now you can start getting the data, right?
Right. So I just click and get link, right? And I'm getting the links now.
So now it's possible. Like before, you were not able to get the containers. Now you have 4 or even more.
I can re-edit that. So I put it in the original state. So I'll just add the first of type. And if we add this, we can see that we only have 3 links, which is the first 3. But if we go ahead and remove this first of type, we get the 4, and if there was more, they should add to that.
Do you know any resources on best ways to learn about this basic concepts? On how did you get to learn about it?
I was trying to create websites in spare time, so just learning, knowing what CSS selectors are, and I think it was the W3C. You can just go and read about the attributes, CSS selectors. You can just like CSS selector guide, right? Google is your best friend. Go and ask ChatGPT, explain to me what's CSS selectors. You just need to learn how to ask the questions. CSS selectors, and then you start reading, this is the selector and this is how it works. So this is how you select elements inside the HTML to make them look pretty.
I'm gonna play with this experiment. Let's see if there's a way to prompt ChatGPT and make a small hack to get the containers. In the meantime, like we have engineers inside Bardeen that they help in cases like this. When someone is not able to get the selectors, you can simply describe the use case, share the website, and we might be able to help.
That's cool. I think that's very useful, especially when it's people that know what they're doing. And it's helpful for the community. And I think that's why most of us enjoy Bardeen, being able to communicate with you guys and share our ideas and opinions and get some feedback and insight of what's going on. And most of the time, you guys always respond and have time for the community, which is, I think, what's very attractive to most people here.
Thank you. Awesome. So let's just finish the example.
Yeah. So the other problem that the user wanted is to get the thumbnails, which cannot happen from the post itself, because some of them have carousels and it's a tricky selector. I think I might be able to get it, but then there is a video. We cannot get a thumbnail of the video because it's just not there. If you just run the same thing, press F12, press your little selector here, and what you select here is not actually the video, but the video is up here, and it has a link, which is like an internal link. Like this doesn't lead to anything for us to be able to scrape it, right? Sorry, but this page is broken. So we can't get an image, but what we can do is actually get the images from here. And let's have a look. So as you can see, we can't select them for some reason again, right? Let's have a look why that is and what the selectors would look like. So we would go into the previous div. So we can see here we actually may be selecting the wrong one, because when you click on it, I'm guessing that's what Bardeen is picking up, and there is like maybe like a protection kind of thing, so you can't easily scrape it. Maybe that's their idea, but it's the div before that contains the image. For the fields, you can click on the three dots for options, press edit. If I'm doing custom selectors, I usually delete Bardeen selectors out of the way, so there is no conflict. I would have a look at them, usually copy and paste them in Slack so I can see all of them. In this case, I think if we copy and paste this here, we can have a look at what we are selecting. So scope means it's within the scope which we selected previously, which was this div, right? So we're selecting the first div child here. Sorry, this one. So scope means that this is already selected until that point. And how do we get to our image, wherever it is? In this case, we're selecting the first link. Where is the link? This is the link, right? And then within that, then we select the first div. And then within that, we're selecting the last div, which is this. So we don't actually want the last one, we want the first one in this case. Let's go and try. Save, and now we have our thumbnails here. Okay.
Nice, I got that. Can you zoom in a little more?
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
And I think this is just a bug on dark themes, the guy said, but I cannot see the names of the fields up here. Okay, so now this is done, right? We get the links, we get the thumbnails, and then we're gonna scrape these links and save the thumbnails. So if I just cancel this because I already have it built, and then open. So this is what we just built. The background scraper will get just the individual links, right? So if we come here, it would come and get the image, the username, the link to the username, and the caption. I'm guessing this is the caption, the first link, the first comment. And then what I do, I don't want to go and like select each of the columns that I want to populate. I just put the scraper in there, add it, and then in the next action, I'm going to update the information. In this case, I just need the thumbnail. So instead of creating 5 columns separately, I just create one. And here is the end result. And this is not ideal for anybody. You don't want to go and make them all active. And if you want to see the image, you go and open the image. So what you can do in Google Sheets is just equals image. select the URL, and now we have an image. And if we make this a little bit bigger, now you can see the thumbnails of each of these posts. Okay.
Can you run that again?
So let's go back. So what happens is, I think because we're getting an image, which is a link. I'm not sure. One of the guys said they don't know. It's probably Google Sheet that is causing this, but you cannot click on the link. So we need to go through each link and just press enter so we can activate it. And to view the thumbnail, you need to open the link and then go to a different page and then do that for each of them, which is not great. So what we do is in here, we can say equals image and then just pass the URL. There is other modes and options. I can create it in a custom size, so they're all the same size. And if we drag, we get all of them and just make it a little bit bigger so we can see them. And now we have all of the thumbnails that you scraped and you can see the first image. And the other formula that I have over here is to extract all the hashtags from these posts, right? So if you, for some reason, you want to get the hashtags, I'm guessing there is other softwares there, but for me, it's just interesting to do it all by myself and learn. And let's show you what's happening here. So we have a formula that would, first of all, we split the text in different words. Then we convert it to text, make sure there is no digits that are throwing errors. Then we extract the hashtags. And then if it's empty, we just return nothing.
Wow.
This is actually an array formula. And then we join everything because otherwise it's gonna just span across the whole sheet.
Yeah.
And now I have all the hashtags and I can use them wherever I want. I can recreate these posts, and if you want to run campaigns based on somebody else's posts on some other company, you can go and scrape these, get all the information. Now you have the hashtags, and you can obviously work with this information.
I have an idea. Maybe we can do a small Q&A in case any of the users,
Yes,
of the
of course.
members present here, in case you have any questions, unresolved cases that you have with Bardeen. This is part of the idea of this sessions, is to go over kind of, if you have any questions or automations in mind, or you've been struggling with a use case, it's the right moment to ask, and we will go over that use case. Then we can continue the rest of the session and we can upload it to YouTube later. I want to hear out if anyone has any automations that you'd like to build or brainstorm. Maybe Juan, Tyler.
I get part of one if we're at that point.
Of course.
Is there currently a integration with Bardeen in one way or another, either directly or indirectly, that can do like keyword search for volume or difficulty, like something with SEMrush or something of that sort? Because the use case that I was seeing here, and in my head, my wheels are turning and I'm like, oh, I already know how I want to use this. This would be a really, really good use case if you could take some of these videos and basically attempt to turn them into, like, take 3 or 4 videos, smash them together, and then turn them into a blog post, especially if you're doing affiliate marketing or something of that sort. You get, 3 expert videos, you smash them together and have them, create an affiliate marketing blog post related to this. The problem with that is, whenever you do SEO blog posts without any sort of keyword guideline, it can sometimes just be trash, even if it has great content. So I'm curious if there's a way. Yeah, I'm curious if there's a way to bring in some sort of keyword research into this process. Like, for example, you could take I don't know exactly how this would work, but for example, you could take the YouTube transcript videos, pull out like the key topics and have ChatGPT give me like 10 possible, H2 tags or keyword tags from this, or here's like 100 of them or whatever it may be. Check these in SEO, give me the top 25 ranking according to these filters, and then create a blog post around the transcript using these keywords, like something of that sort. Because once you can bring in some sort of automation with those keywords, you can then be able to sculpt this output as far as for like blog posts and things like that in a way that's actually usable in the end.
Yeah, you have a really good point. So it's not only about like generating a blog post because you can, but also it needs to match with the market. It needs to match with the user interest and the SEO on the keywords that are getting traction. So I have 2 comments on that. Like the first one is, you mentioned the use case of being able to generate a blog post from a YouTube transcript. I think it's 100% possible. Out of what we learned in this case, it would just be modifying the prompt. So if you get a transcript and then you run a nice prompt into it to generate the blog post in the format that you need, it should be able to generate you this. And for instance, Deyan, can you add an action to save the data in Google Docs? So that way you can run this automation through this prompt and save like the blog post output into a Google Doc, into a newly created Google Doc. And you can do this either for one video or for multiple videos. So I think that would be a use case on how to leverage, scraping AI to generate blog posts from YouTube transcripts. I think that's a really interesting idea, Tyler. And on the SEO side, our Rinat, who leads the YouTube channel, he does this very often on like tracking the keywords that we should be creating videos and blog posts about. He made a video on how to basically optimize this entire webflow on Ahrefs. I don't know if you're familiar with Ahrefs.
Not as much, but I've heard of it before. So
yeah, so he made this video on SEO hacks that you can use, and it includes also use cases like how to leverage scraping while you're doing SEO research on those keywords, to scrape those keywords, to save them, to, if you have the keywords, then you can also prompt them through OpenAI to generate drafts for you. So those are some type of use cases. I'm guessing you were telling us about this platform, SEMrush, right?
Yeah, I think SEMrush is probably it's a really premium service for keyword research. I mean, there's a lot of different ones. So at the end, I think the best one is the one that you can integrate into automation. I mean, ideally, it'd be great to use a high quality one like SEMrush, but I think a keyword research tool is better than no keyword research tool. So, yeah. Or a really good one manually, maybe. So
I'm guessing you need to understand what is your manual workflow. Like once you go into SEMrush and you do your research, you get keywords of like topics you can create blog posts about, and what you do manually is you start copy pasting them into Google Sheets or Notion or your own system. Now you can simply set up a scraper, that's step one, to scrape those keywords after you're doing the research. Or maybe you can even automate part of this process. Like we have automations that just input a keyword and it searches on Google search for like the top topics on that keyword. You might be able to do that depending on whether the platform allows you to basically search with the URL. So the same applies with LinkedIn. So you can search, we have automations that you can input a job title and it'll search the jobs for that job title on LinkedIn jobs, right? And it depends on the platform, but these are some kind of ideas. I think your step-by-step should be kind of understanding that workflow and then setting up your scrapers on how to get those keywords. And from there, you should be able to complement it with OpenAI and generate your blog posts.
I was going to ask if you guys have an idea for what prompt we should use to try and test this case. Do you want to try maybe like generate a medium-sized blog post based on this transcript or something like that?
I mean, the thing is you can definitely get it to make content.
Okay.
At some point, you need to double check it with keyword backs.
From what my knowledge is, I think it would be best to give it some context in terms of, okay, so, some like create a blog post based on this transcript, give it a transcript, and then say, use these keywords. Maybe if you have the keywords already, or
Oh, that's an interesting point.
Say
first and
look for a already SEO optimized video, somebody that performs very good, and then scrape that, and then generate me a SEO keywords for this, and then from these keywords generate me a blog post, and then just run it down. One thing I would suggest is, I know the guys are working on a pretty awesome template for text, for strings, but I would suggest to get I'm just quickly gonna show you. I usually create a settings tab, and this one is just for show, right? But I would just put my prompts here and then use a get table and then merge these texts inside Bardeen. So I can then come here and change them, because at the moment you cannot edit strings in Bardeen that you've already put. You have to rewrite them. Nobody wants to rewrite, a long prompt. So you can just come here and get me the keywords.
Yeah, basically write. It's better to map and like write what you want your automation to do and your prompts, before inputting them into Bardeen. The process I like to do is I usually leverage ChatGPT. So if I want to process scrape data with Bardeen, I go into ChatGPT, I prompt it like, I want you to generate based on this example. I make the prompt, I set up an example of the scrape data, I make sure it works. And once I make sure it works on ChatGPT, then you can do it on Bardeen very easily. And you can do it with a lot of scrape data instead of only one example. But I wanted to come back to Tyler's point. I think like this is a crazy idea, but if you're able to get the keywords from the YouTube videos and then you're able to search those keywords on SEMrush, then you have some valuable data. We have, for instance, actions that allow you to classify classify data based on conditions. So you can tell it like based on the results from SEMrush, like that it'll get you the ranking of each keyword. You can tell it, hey, rank me the best performing keywords by the ones that have more like higher ranks, right? Like higher scores. And from there, you can generate blog posts out of those. I think those are ideas that you have to experiment with, and you have to kind of just get into that Bardeen learner. But there's an intriguing use case that we can elaborate later on maybe on the community or on another chat. I wanted to also check in with other users. I think Juan had a question.
Well, my question was more based on kind of a crazy idea. I work in recruitment, so the idea would be to kind of automate the whole sourcing process at once. Just uploading the boolean search onto the playbook, and after you have uploaded the boolean search, it would look for candidates.
I didn't understand that. Can you give us a bit more context, like on what is the use case, and then like how would you use boolean search? Because I'm guessing not everyone is familiar with what boolean search is.
Sure. So this is a recruitment practice that it's normal for looking for candidates. It's just like when you type into Google what you're looking for, it's for looking for candidates. So the idea would do kind of this type of search as specific as possible. A bit on what you were talking for the keywords for SEO.
Yeah.
But these are more recruitment based, like candidate based words, and based on those words for you to scrape the list of candidates that you would get on LinkedIn and pass them on to a Google Sheet. So that way you don't have to look for, like you would only have to look for a really good search and you would automatically have a list of candidates ready to go, like to start messaging.
I think that is possible. Let me show you an example. You have this URL, right? LinkedIn search URL, and you can input this keyword that it says customer success San Francisco. This is something that you could do with Bardeen. You can simply have this. So we're going to build it very quickly. We're going to go to Bardeen. So what I want to do is like, I want to search a specific keywords on people search on LinkedIn and scrape the results for those keywords. So that is an automation that you can build. You can simply do merge text. So this is like the action to build text. And from there, you can use ask me every time. So this will prompt you, what are the keywords? Here you're going to input your Boolean search. Then we're going to find links in text to make sure that this is getting the text that we want, that this is getting the URL that we want. And then we're going to scrape data in the background for using the LinkedIn search scraper. And we should be able to get the results. Do you kind of understand where I'm going to, Juan?
Yeah, that's actually great. Yeah, that's lovely.
Okay, I think that solves your question, right?
I think how it will be better if you just get all your Boolean searches in a table, right? And then get the table, merge each of them with the LinkedIn search word, and then you can obviously automate that the whole way. So you just have your Boolean searches somewhere, grab all of them, merge them one by one. It's important to, Ivan, if you can click on merge text action and just scroll to the bottom of that. Yes, so for multiple values, when you encounter them, you have to get one string for each combination. So it doesn't merge and create a one.
Yeah, that's a good point. So this is like what I recommend is to build automations with iterations. Like you first make sure that it works with one. Then you run it over a couple. Then you start like evolving your automation step by step. The next evolution, as Deyan says, like if you're able to run this automation successfully, that basically this is what it'll do. So let me just search LinkedIn profiles by keyword. Of course, this is like I'm doing it on the spot, but let's see. But if you're able to run this automation successfully, then you can build upon like other more complex ways to do this, like the option that Deyan is telling us to basically get all the keywords or the boolean searches that you want to do and run them here. So if you're able to do here your boolean search of customer success and San Francisco, and you run this and this works, you're good to go. I think there's one possible thing that could go wrong here. Let's see if it, and is that we didn't encode the text, and that is like important for the URL, because as you can see here, we're gonna basically input it like this, and this will break because it's not a URL, it has a space here. So what we have to do is like turn this keyword into a URL encoded format. That is like the format that you got with these symbols. You don't have to be technical, but we have an action that does this, and it's just very easy fix that you can do here just by coming here. Although I'm curious to see, like, this is the automation that is running, and the other thing is I didn't put a limit on it, so it might be just scraping infinitely, and that will take a while. So those are like iterations that you have to do. Items, but I think Juan, this solves your question, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. You're all encoded. I want to ask if anyone has any other questions or use cases that you want to walk through. I wanted to be mindful on the time, and I think if nobody else has questions, then we can give this session an end. This Bardeen workout was really awesome. Thank you, Deyan, for participating. We're going to stay here for a bit longer to walk through in case anyone wants to stay, in case anyone wants to discuss some other use cases, but you're free to go now if you need to go. So thank you everyone for participating, and we hope to see you on next Bardeen events.